There is a hidden force that draws men toward the very women they believe they should avoid, not because she is bad, but because she awakens something buried deep within them. The truth is, every man lives with a side of himself he does not show to the world, a shadow, as I call it. This shadow is not evil. It is simply what has been repressed. It contains every impulse, every instinct, every emotion that society, family, or morality told him to deny. A man learns early on to present only what is acceptable: composure, control, logic, and responsibility. But beneath that mask lies the forgotten fire of his soul, the wildness, the longing, the vulnerability that has been exiled from his conscious life. Then she appears, the woman others may label bad, dangerous, or too much. She does not conform. She speaks her truth without fear. Her emotions are untamed, her presence intoxicating. She embodies freedom in a way that his conscious self cannot, and something stirs within him, not merely lust, but recognition. He feels drawn to her because she mirrors his own disowned energy. She becomes the external face of his internal shadow. He may tell himself he's attracted to her beauty, her mystery, her passion, but at a deeper level, it is his own unlived life calling him through her. She represents the parts of himself he has silenced, the parts that crave to feel without restraint, to live without apology. What he admires and what simultaneously frightens him is her wholeness. In her authenticity, she reflects what he has lost in himself. The man who appears strong yet feels restless, the man who has everything yet senses emptiness, he is not yearning for her body. He is yearning for the return of his own soul. This is why his attraction feels irrational, even dangerous. The shadow cannot be ignored forever. It demands expression, and when suppressed too long, it emerges through projection, often in the form of intense fascination or forbidden desire. The so-called bad woman becomes the vessel for his shadow's message. There is more of you than what you have allowed yourself to be. She is not the cause of his turmoil. She is the mirror that reveals it, but here lies the tragedy. Instead of understanding this inner dynamic, he often chases her as if she holds the missing piece. He confuses projection with love, and when she fails to live up to the fantasy, disappointment sets in, and he repeats the cycle with another. Yet if he could pause, if he could see that the attraction is an invitation from his unconscious, he would begin to awaken. To love the bad woman consciously is not to possess her, but to recognize the shadow she awakens within. When a man dares to meet that shadow, to integrate the passion, chaos, and vitality he sees in her, he becomes whole. What he truly seeks is not her darkness, but his own light hidden within it. And once a man begins to sense that his attraction is not merely toward her, but toward something stirring within himself, he comes face to face with the next truth, the quiet rebellion against the life he has tamed. Modern existence has taught him to be disciplined, efficient, and composed. He lives by the rules of logic, duty, and appearance. Yet somewhere along the way, the spark of aliveness that once burned fiercely within him has dimmed beneath the weight of order. His life is structured, respectable, even admired, but it lacks soul. The woman he calls bad threatens that order. She moves through the world guided by instinct rather than permission. She does not apologize for her feelings, her desires, or her contradictions. She laughs too loudly, loves too deeply, and refuses to fit inside the boxes that confine others. To the man who has spent his life suppressing his spontaneity in exchange for control, she is both terrifying and magnetic. She represents the chaos he has exiled, the emotional wildness that once made him feel truly alive. When he is near her, something ancient reawakens. It is not merely attraction, it is remembrance. He remembers what it felt like to act without calculation, to feel without restraint, to live without fear of judgment. She embodies what his soul has longed for, the freedom to exist in full color after living in shades of gray. Yet this awakening also brings danger, for the life he has built depends on stability. To embrace her fully would mean to risk dismantling everything: the image, the control, the certainty. So he oscillates between desire and denial. Part of him wants to surrender, to be consumed by the fire she carries. Another part clings to the safety of the known, terrified of what liberation might cost. This inner conflict is the rebellion of the psyche, a revolt against the deadness of routine. He doesn't only desire her, he desires the life she symbolizes. He may call her reckless, but secretly he envies her courage to be uncontained. Every man at some point must face this tension. Civilization demands he be rational, yet the soul demands he feel. Society rewards control, yet his humanity thrives in surrender. The attraction to the bad woman is often the soul's protest against a life that has become too small. It is the unconscious screaming for expansion, for danger, for depth, for authenticity. But what he misunderstands is that the rebellion he projects onto her must begin within himself. She is not meant to be his escape from the tamed life, but the catalyst that exposes how tamed he has become. If he follows this realization inward instead of outward, he will find that the true freedom he seeks does not come from possessing her, but from liberating himself from the cage of his own conditioning. Only then does the attraction lose its chaos and transform into awareness. The moment when desire becomes a doorway to awakening rather than destruction. And it is precisely at this moment, when desire turns inward, when he begins to question the meaning behind his attraction, that the true source of his longing is revealed, the call of the Anima, the feminine soul within every man. You see, what he pursues in the bad woman is not truly her. It is his own inner feminine essence, unexpressed and aching to be seen. The Anima is the bridge between a man's rational world and his emotional depth. She is intuition, feeling, creativity, vulnerability, the aspects he has been taught to silence in order to be strong, successful, and masculine. But when a man denies her for too long, she does not vanish. She hides beneath the surface, whispering through dreams, fantasies, and encounters that stir something raw in him. The bad woman becomes her voice, bold, unapologetic, alive. She mirrors everything he has buried within. That is why he cannot easily explain his fascination. It feels irrational, almost mystical. It's not about beauty or logic. It's about energy, a resonance of something he's forgotten but deeply needs. When she laughs without restraint, he feels the echo of his own lost joy. When she breaks the rules, he feels the rebellion his soul never dared to express. When she challenges him, she awakens his dormant strength. This is not infatuation alone. It is his inner feminine trying to reach him through her image. Yet, instead of recognizing her as a reflection of his psyche, he externalizes her, idealizes her, obsesses over her, or condemns her. He believes she holds the key to his fulfillment, when in truth she is merely a mirror reflecting his inner incompleteness. The danger arises when he seeks to possess her rather than understand what she represents. For the moment he mistakes projection for reality, he becomes enslaved by his own illusion. The Anima's call is never about another person. It is about integration. The more he chases her outwardly, the further he strays from the source of his transformation. She will appear again and again in different faces, in different forms, until he finally listens to what she is trying to teach. That wholeness cannot be found in another, only awakened within. When he begins to embrace the qualities she embodies, sensitivity, Imagination, tenderness, emotional truth, the attraction shifts. The desperate pull softens into reverence. He no longer sees her as the bad woman who disrupts his order, but as a symbol of the divine feminine energy he must reconcile with. Only then does he become capable of love that is not possession, but connection, a love born of inner balance rather than inner emptiness. The tragedy is that most men never reach this realization. They spend their lives oscillating between worshipping and fearing the feminine, drawn to her fire, yet afraid to be burned by it. But for those who dare to look inward, who dare to answer the Anima's unfulfilled call, what once appeared as dangerous desire transforms into the most profound act of self-discovery, the awakening of the soul through the feminine within. And this, my friends, is where love transforms from a battlefield of projection into a sacred path, the path of self-realization. When a man finally understands that what he seeks in the bad woman is not her chaos, but his own unlived life, love ceases to be a pursuit of possession and becomes a journey of awakening. For love in its truest form is not meant to complete us. It is meant to reveal us. Every attraction carries a message from the unconscious. When a man feels irresistibly drawn to a woman who defies his moral compass, it is not sin that calls him. It is growth. Something within him is asking to evolve, to move beyond the boundaries he has built to feel safe. The bad woman, bold, unpredictable, emotionally raw, is the catalyst. She shakes the structures of his ego, forcing him to confront the gap between who he is and who he wishes to be. But here lies the challenge. If he clings to the illusion that love is about control, he will suffer. The more he tries to own the woman who awakens him, the more he will lose himself. Love is not about merging with another to escape the emptiness inside. It is about recognizing that the light he sees in her exists also within him. When he understands this, desire becomes devotion, not to her image, but to his own evolution. In the language of the soul, love is the mirror through which we see both our divinity and our wounds. The woman he calls bad is often the one who refuses to let him stay asleep. She challenges his false virtues, questions his certainty, and ignites his forgotten fire. Through her, he learns that purity does not mean the absence of darkness, but the courage to face it. To truly love her is not to tame her spirit, but to honor what she awakens in him, the wild, authentic, untamed essence of his being. As he embraces this realization, something profound happens. He begins to see that the qualities he once feared, intensity, passion, emotional depth, are not threats to his masculinity, but gateways to it. Real strength is not the suppression of feeling, but the capacity to hold it without being destroyed. Real love does not seek comfort, it seeks truth. And truth, as I have often said, is rarely gentle, but it is always liberating. When love becomes a path to self-realization, every relationship turns into a mirror. The woman who infuriates him, the one who tempts him, the one who confuses him, all become reflections of his inner work. The question is never why her, but what part of me is she awakening? When he dares to ask that question honestly, he no longer fears the feminine, he honors it. So if you find yourself drawn to someone who shakes your certainty, do not rush to judge it as wrong or right. Sit with it. Ask yourself what part of you feels alive in her presence. What truth is she showing you that you have been too afraid to face? Love, when seen through the eyes of consciousness, is not about conquest, it is about revelation. It teaches you that every attraction, no matter how complicated, is an invitation to meet yourself more deeply. Here lies the secret most never learn. The bad woman isn't dangerous because she's wicked. She's dangerous because she wakes the part of you that no longer fits in the cage of your conditioning. And when you begin to honor that awakening, When you start loving, not just her, but what she symbolizes within you, love turns into something far greater than desire. It becomes wisdom. So, learn to love consciously. Do not chase intensity for its thrill, nor fear it for its power. Instead, let it guide you toward balance, toward understanding that true love is not found in another, but reflected through another. When you integrate that truth, you no longer fall in love blindly, but you rise in love, awake, aware, and finally, whole. If this message stirred something deep within you, it's because truth always does. Don't just feel it, understand it. Subscribe to Hidden Words for more Carl Jung-inspired insights into love, desire, and the human psyche. Discover why certain people awaken your soul and what it truly means to love consciously. Watch, reflect, and evolve. Your awakening begins here.